Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from PettyRevenge. Story 1 today is by AJ the Great 332. Moved my still damp laundry? Fine. I'll mess with yours. So the dorms I'm living in have communal washers, dryers, and it's usually pretty empty, especially on Saturday afternoons when I go in. Plenty of open machines, even discounting the broken ones. Yet I go to get my stuff and find that someone emptied out my still damp sheets and towel onto the counter and put their stuff in. I don't want to start something unnecessary that might escalate and just move them to a different dryer, which was easy since most of the dryers were open. The new guy's stuff was still wet, not just damp, but wet, and I was just going to leave without restarting the dryer before deciding to go the extra step and moved the timer so it looks like it ran the whole time, then stopped. Coming back an hour later, forgetting exactly where I put my stuff, I opened the dryer to check and realized, hey, this is that one guy's stuff. Turned out he had moved it to a new dryer after finding it still wet. Must have thought the other dryer was broken. It makes sense all of the machines were old and there were at least 8 or so dryers down at the moment. Well, his stuff is still wet, and seeing an opportunity, I again set the timer to 0, find my stuff, then leave. No clue what he'll think when finding it, but I just hope he's as annoyed as I was finding that someone had moved my still damp sheets when there were still plenty of open dryers. Have you guys ever had communal dryers before? I actually, when I was in college, you had to pay a fee for dryer use. Actually, I went to 2 different colleges, and one of them was coin operated, and one of them you put a balance on your card. So the fact that these were entirely free, it doesn't make any sense at all to me why he would take your stuff out of the dryer and use it. Although there are some people that are OCD and they always want to use the same one, I guess. Regardless, it is incredibly rude to take somebody else's stuff out of a dryer and just leave it on the counter. You should use another one or come back at a different time. At first I thought these communal dryers actually had something you had to pay for, like you had to insert some coins or you had to use your ID, badge type thing to pay for it. And then it would be really rude because he'd be using the time that this guy had left on his machine, drying his stuff to dry his own. But I think that these were actually completely free as long as you're a student. Somebody down in the comments shared their own tiny story of PettyRevenge that had to do with laundry drying as well. By Ditka85. I always timed the dryers in my building. It would come down about 5 minutes before the cycle ended so I wouldn't inconvenience anyone. One day, somebody moved my stuff and their clothes were midway through the cycle. I worked in factory QA and had dozens of those grease pencils where you pull a string to expose more grease. So I completely unwrapped a red one and tossed the entire center into their load. You know what heat does to grease pencils? Oh, that must have been such a mess. That would be so hard to get out of any fabrics. You pretty much ruined their laundry by doing this. Our next post is by Substantial C0020. My roommate kept stealing my oat milk, so I switched it with watered down mayo juice. He swore he wasn't touching it, but every week the carton got lighter. I put a sticky note on it. Didn't work. I moved it to the back of the fridge. Still vanished. So I got surgical. Took an empty oat milk container, filled it with a blend of mayo, warm water, and a splash of vinegar for tang. Same color, same texture. Pure evil. Put it right up front in the fridge, label facing out. Waited. Next morning, I heard it. Sip. Gag. Spit. Cough. He slammed the fridge and shouted, "What the heck is wrong with this milk?" I just blinked at him and said, "I don't know. Tastes fine to me." He learned his lesson and kept his hands off. Honestly, OP, you missed the opportunity to just say to him, "I thought you weren't drinking the milk. Why would you question what it tastes like if you're not drinking it?" Our next story is by Fluid Air 3151. Nuns. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, my parents' choice, not mine. When I was in the 4th grade, I was in a split class, half 4th graders and half 5th graders, chosen for that class because we were smarter and could be trusted to work on our own when the nun was with the other grade. Gave that background to let you know for the most part we were well-behaved kids. So after lunch, this 5th grade girl named Carol asks our teacher if she could go to the bathroom, and she said no. 5 minutes later, she raised her hand and asked again. Another no. A few minutes later, she raises her hand and begs the teacher to let her go because she doesn't feel well. Another no. We were doing busy work, so she wouldn't miss anything if she left, but the teacher didn't care. Finally, she walks up to the front of the room where the teacher was sitting at her desk. The nun stands up to yell at her, and this girl projectile vomited all over her. Not intentional revenge, but satisfying nonetheless. As someone who used to work in classrooms, I'm going to tell anybody who's a young listener who's still in school to do exactly what my mother said to do. She was a teacher too, by the way. If you're ever in a class and you ask to go to the bathroom and the teacher says no, you get up and go anyway. There is nothing these people, these nuns included in this story, can do to you to hurt you. Nothing. Goes on your permanent record. No one cares. If you have to go to the bathroom in class and they say no, get up and go. There is no reason whatsoever that somebody should be lording over you with some sort of power trip. You cannot leave my classroom right now. You should have thought about that in your 2-minute break in between classes. Just get up and go. Don't worry about it. The worst thing is that these power tripping teachers, which do exist, by the way, I had to work with some of them that wouldn't let students go to the restroom. You're embarrassed about getting up and going if they're in the middle of teaching a class and they already said no. Just go. If you really have to go, go. Our next story is by Unlikely Tadpoled. He slammed the door every morning at 5 a.m., so I practiced piano at 11 p.m. I live in an apartment where the walls are thin enough to hear someone sneeze 2 units down. So, basic noise courtesy kind of matters. Most people get that, but not my next door neighbor. For some reason, he thinks doors are meant to be slammed, not closed, not gently pulled shut, but full body thrown like he's mad at it. And he does this every morning at 5 a.m. No exaggeration, it's how I wake up most weekdays now. Sometimes he slams it twice because he forgets his phone or whatever, so bonus round for me. One morning I ran into him and asked if he could maybe be a little quieter with the door. I kept it light, wasn't rude about it. He just laughed and said, "It's just a door. Relax." Then walked off. Okay then. That night I decided if he likes noise so much, I could contribute too. I dragged out my old electric keyboard, plugged it in, and picked the loudest, most obnoxious organ setting I could find. Around 11 p.m. when everything's super quiet, I sat down and started playing chopsticks, like a kid at their first piano lesson. Not well, not rhythmically, and definitely not short. I did it the next night too, and the one after that. On the 4th morning, the 5 a.m. door slam never came. It's been over a week now. Peaceful mornings, no slamming, no passive-aggressive notes, just silence. So yeah, I guess sometimes you really do have to fight noise with noise, and hey, maybe I'll get good at piano again while I'm at it. The only thing that I find a little unfortunate about this is I can guarantee you if you were playing it as loud as you could in your apartment, and like you said, your apartment, the walls are thin enough to hear someone sneeze 2 units down, you were keeping other people awake too. So, totally a deserved petty revenge. He was rude to you and you found a way to be rude to him, but I think you probably were disturbing other people in your apartment complex too, if it's really that cheap a place where the walls are that thin. Our stories for today have come to a close until we meet again. Have a beautiful day.